sounds of the waves crashing against stone. There's a sour taste in your mouth, Calder, and you're surrounded by empty bottles. Your head feels like it's been squeezed in a vice. It hurts. In fact, everything hurts. And you reach up to your eye, and you feel the scars. And even though they're quite old at this point, it still hurts. Your hair is in your face and standing on end from where you were sleeping, and there's a small, quite dry pool of vomit that you've woken up in. There are broken bottles, and the room that you are currently residing in has more holes than boards. The window is covered in a ragged piece of cloth, and it looks as if someone has tried to tie it closed, and there's water dripping inside. You smell the salty air of the dock ward not too far away. You've been here for quite some time. Waterdeep. The information that you gathered, the coin that you spent to gather that information, gone. It told you that the shipping manifest put the Siren's Call back in the docks here at Waterdeep within the 10-day, and you have been waiting. And of course, not one to waste time, you found yourself some small distractions in the city itself. There's a broken mirror in a corner, and you glance over at it. Describe Calder to us.
He's not too skinny. He's pretty wiry. He's a sailor. He's fairly young, like 19, 20, about. He's got blonde hair. It's kind of swept to the side, and it usually covers his scars. And he is dressed in pretty plain clothes, except for his long black coat.
Your coat is hung very neatly in the corner, and it turns out that in your drunken stupor, you took very good care of it. It's unmarred. As for your shirt and breeches, they have seen better days. While you've been in Waterdeep, you managed to liberate some of the schedules. It should be here by the 15th of the month, the Siren's Call. It's already the 13th, and you're becoming nervous. You've been enjoying some of the local nightlife, and due to some unfortunate collisions with 3 dragon ante-tables and a few bottles of whiskey, you are broke and fully rock bottom. You don't have much of anything to your name, maybe 3 coppers. That's about all, hidden in a boot. That said, as your mind begins to clear, you realize that you did gather some information from one of the card players last night. That player won most of your coin, but if what the sailor says is true, it might be worth the loss. The sailor had come from the Moonshay Isles and said that the Siren's Call never made it out of port from here at Waterdeep for its last sail. The charts that you have seem to be all wrong. That ship, your birthright, it never left Waterdeep. If what that sailor said is true, it's already here, but you haven't seen it, and you haven't heard anyone talking about it. Taking some pity on you, he told you to meet up with one of his contacts. He gave you an address that was scrolled on an old piece of filthy parchment that was advertising a bard somewhere in the dock ward in a place called the Squiggly Limb. The address that you have leads you to the docks known as Bluebird. It's on the southern end of the watershed. It tells you, however, to follow a path under the dock and past the camps to the dead end. And once you're there at the dead end, to throw a copper piece into the water and to wait.
Well, I mean, He's gonna look himself up and down and go, oh, well, that's embarrassing for me. And he's probably gonna get himself a little cleaned up first.
You're very skilled at making do with what you have, and you gather a couple of empty flasks and fill them up with water and set yourself straight and find yourself back in your jacket. All of your belongings seem to be in place, surprisingly. This little shed that you found seems to be abandoned. You don't even know how far you made it down the street from the tavern you were at.
He looks around and goes, yeah, that seems about right. And he takes 1 copper out of his boot, 1/3 of his net worth, and follows the instructions.
You walk through the docks of Waterdeep, and there are magnificent ships that are lined across docks as far as the eye could see. Waterdeep is an enormous bay, and therein most of the goods and mercantile wealth of all of Faerûn travel through this port. And there are bustling sailors and merchants of every type surrounding you. The streets are busy, bursting full of strange faces. No one seems to take much notice of you as you walk through the wet streets, and off in the distance, the thunder continues to clap as you see that there is a storm on the horizon and it's growing. You walk across the docks and make your way to an area that is marked with the painting of a small blue bird on a ragged wooden sign, aged by the salt weather and the storms. Seems quiet, somewhat abandoned. Off far down on the dock, you see an old woman mending nets, working diligently. A pile of old net in front of her, and a pile of new net on the other side. You walk your way down the dock, and you see a set of stairs leading down. What do you do?
He's going to try not to draw attention to himself from this old woman, and go down the stairs.
I love it. Make a stealth roll, please, my friend. That's an 11.
It's not super good.
Yeah, it's not a failure though. So, Calder, you do make it down. You don't draw attention to yourself, but your head is hurting and you still are quite hungover. You realize that maybe you're not being as quiet as you could be, but no one seems to take much notice, and the old woman certainly doesn't. She doesn't even look up from her work. And you make your way down and you see campfires strung out in front of you. The dock is a network, like a small village spread out with a lot of destitute old sailors doing what they can to survive. There are fish that are hanging out on old lines, drying out in the salty air, and there are buckets of water that are being boiled and distilled to make it drinkable. There is a series of small shacks that have been built off to one side, and people do glance at you, but they don't spend a lot of time staring. You think that given another year or two on the skids, you might fit in here really nicely. And you keep moving until eventually you hit a stone wall, and there is a small outcropping that leads out into the water. The bay itself, underneath the docks, is interrupted by all of the mighty stone pillars that hold the dock up and adjacent to the rest of the city. And they stretch out, and you see ship after ship and crews working to scrape the barnacles off of them and ready the ships for their next journey. Here, however, there doesn't seem to be much of anything. What do you want to do?
Yeah, walk out to the edge of that. Doesn't seem like there's anywhere else to go that fits the description, so we'll go there.
You walk out, and in the water beneath you, you see a faint shimmer, and you see little sparks of metal in the water beneath. It looks like a wishing well.
Tempting.
Certainly enough coppers for a warm meal and maybe a bottle.
He looks at them for a second, looks at his own, thinks about the other two in his boot, but he's a sailor. He's suspicious enough to know to at least be spooked by the prospect of taking other people's wishes. It's got to be bad luck somewhere.
Probably true.
Yeah, so he's gonna toss his own copper in after a moment.
Yeah, the copper leaves your hand, Calder, and it flies through the air, and as it twirls and falls into the water, it splashes. And to your great disappointment, nothing very magical happens. Do you make a wish?
And he's just gonna stare for a second and look around. Hello?
Your voice echoes through the dark area beneath the dock, and you begin to wonder if that sailor wasn't taking the wind out of your sails. This could have been a ruse to get you to look like a fool. You've just thrown one of your last coppers into the water. And just when you're about to give up and turn away, there's a splash.
Like rolling up his sleeves a little bit to like reach in.
Yeah, you actually are about to stick your hand back in, whether to grab your own copper or maybe a few others. And as your hand reaches out, it's grabbed by another that has pulled itself out from the water. You see this beautiful dark skin and these pearlescent fingertips that have grabbed you by the hand. And at first it was somewhat harsh, but then it was almost tender as it turned your hand around and began looking at your palm. A figure emerges from the water. You see a female form that is dressed in strange armor that is wrapped around her body, and she has patches and belts and other trinkets tied to her. Her hair is braided together in this wild mane that pulls out of the water almost like seaweed, and there is a very slight green tinge to it. And her eyes are really deep and dark brown. And she looks at you, and you are taken aback by the tattooed and pierced figure of a mermaid that has emerged in front of you.
I'm in trouble. I'm so sorry. Didn't realize that anything was going to happen. I was just going to take my own coin back and be on my way.
Now, see, this is interesting here. This line tells me quite a bit. This one is no good at all, and you should be concerned. I don't know if I have very much good news for your fate, but I can tell you, you've come here with a purpose.
Yeah, well, thank you, I think.
My friends call me Filthy Meg, and she plops out of the water, and she has this beautiful green and blue iridescent tail, and she lounges there in front of you, looking at you curiously.
Hello, I'm Calder Grail. Why do they call you Filthy Meg? You live in the water, you don't look filthy.
I know everything that happens here, and I mean everything. So if there's dirt, I find it. A few people, she's drawn a dagger, and you didn't realize it. She's like using it to kind of like gesture, and she points at you. Now, a few people have made the mistake of assuming that they could make a joke out of that and call me Fishy Meg. They now live with me underwater forever.
Go a little wide. Yes, ma'am.
You can call me Meg. Young man, why are you here?
I was looking for a little information about a ship called the Siren's Call.
She cocks an eyebrow at that. It's pierced like 3 times with little gold rings.
Does it make noise? Does it jingle?
Yeah, it does have a little jingle occurs when she does that.
Excellent.
The Siren's Call.
Yes.
I see.
You know it.
I've heard the name.
I think it might be here, but I haven't been able to find it.
Well, you're in luck. You found Filthy Meg. Filthy Meg has all the answers. Look, love, all I need from you is payment.
Oh. Well, you any gestures to the well. You already have about 1/3 of my net wealth. So I don't know. I can work, but I don't have money.
What did you say your name was again?
Calder Grail. You know, it depends on who's asking. I feel like I should not lie to you, though.
Calder Grail. Are you wasting my time?
That seems like it might be up to you. I hope not.
I'm going to trust you. I'm going to believe, Calder Grail, that you are who you say you are. I'll give you the information that you want. But I need something from you. I need you to liberate something.
Oh.
And bring it back to me.
He looks a little more comfortable, instantly like, all right. What did you have in mind?
As you know, my business is the business of the Dark Ward. There are other merfolk who travel these waters, and they don't like what I do. They feel that I'm too tightly wound up in the workings of the underworld here. I say to them, they have no entrepreneurial spirit at all, and that they're short-sighted, that they don't see the bigger picture. They patrol the docks and they guard all of the cove here in Waterdeep, and they don't think about all that coin that passes over our heads. I see things differently. And as such, my business is predicated on the expansion and growth of a wide network of individuals that can lead me to the things that other people want. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
There is a group here, Calder Grail, known as the Watchful Order. It's a group of mages. They cause all sorts of problems. They have a series of arcane eyes that float about and are quite invisible. They cause no end of problems for my agents because you can't see these orbs. The only way you could see them is if you had a command ring.
I was like looking around suddenly. Like, oh.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you understand. No self-respecting information broker, she says very pointedly, is going to want to have an invisible eye looking over them the entire time that they're maybe not working in the best interests of Waterdeep. I need you to find and take one of the control rings off the hand of a member of the Watchful Order.
Calder's face is just, he's like looking off into the distance like, oh, well, I like a challenge.
It should be a blue gem set in silver. And I don't care how you get it. You can get as creative as you want. I just don't want it to fall back on me.
Understood.
And seriously, if the guard shows up here, Calder, I will find you.
Oh.
You're going to have 2 scars on that pretty face of yours. Now, there is one of this Watchful Order that spends a lot of time in a tavern not far from Coin Alley, near the Watching Tower. I think those wizards do something to the towers over there to help them see further. I don't know for sure, but regardless, you can find them in a tavern near Coin Alley. There aren't many in that area. You shouldn't have any trouble finding it.
Taverns are my turf.
It's called the Mangy Dog. Do we have an accord, Calder Grail?
Cal kind of like he's already thinking of little plans until he snaps back and like, yeah, yes. What happens if I just fail?
You don't get the information.
That's it?
Simple enough. As long as the watch doesn't show up on my door, I don't care. I'll find someone else. And as to what happens with the Siren's Call, it's of no business of mine, although I know a great deal. More than maybe you know.
All right, that seems fair enough.
You don't know a sailor by the name of Squig, do you?
Know him. I know of him. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Some people were asking about a sailor named Squig. Funny. Those descriptions seem not too far off from the way you look, Calder Grail.
Well, he, you know, how many sailors with a mutilated face are there? Probably a lot. It was sort of rough out there on
There's
the
a lot.
water.
Yeah. But the coat, it's mighty fine.
Yeah, it's like a security blanket, really.
You should find a security blanket that doesn't put you in harm's way. Maybe. I don't know. Look, I'm here if you find a ring.
He's just sweating, like, a little bit like this.
She leaps back into the water, and she's swimming now, and her tail kind of flops out into the bay. And she turns and looks. She doesn't hit you with it, but she does swim underwater, and then she pops back up, and she looks at you. Hope to see you soon, Squig, and dives off and swims away.
As soon as she's gone, he goes, and then he calms down and starts like slowly walking back.
As you walk back, you think about everything that's occurred, and you generally know your way around the dock at this point. You haven't been to the Mangy Dog, but you just haven't been on that side of town yet. You start making your way through this crowded streets of the dock ward, past the ringing of a bell that is in an old temple. It is dedicated to Timora, and you see the priests of Timora out front gathering coins. Coppers, coppers for luck. Our Lady blesses those who bless. Coppers for luck. Coppers.
I was gonna take another copper out of his boot and give it to them.
It clinks in the cup, and the young acolyte looks at you and winks. Timora's blessing upon you.
Oh, thanks.
The bells continue to ring, and you continue to walk along. Meanwhile, the balance has been broken. The whole world lays before you. You stand on the edge of the last trees before the glade opens up. The open field stretches 2, maybe 3 miles until it strikes the city of Waterdeep and that wall. The endless, towering city. It lays before you, June, and you know there's no turning back. In that sacred altar to the Oaken Lord, your prayers were answered, and your fate revealed itself. The visions were clear. This is where it will happen. The Emerald Enclave could lend no aid. They could send no druids, give you no protection. You would do this alone. And while the blessings of the Oaken Lord may walk with you, none of the Emerald Enclave would. The Church of Sylvanas is withering. Your faith is tested. The great rains have collided for a year against the island home of the druids and clerics that have raised you and brought you into the world of understanding and peace with the natural world. The altar that you have shepherded for years is thankfully not on that island. It is not lost like the others, but now that the balance has been broken, although the Elder Circle has given what blessings they can, and the will of the Oaken Lord is clear, everything lies in ruins. Nature is groaning and crying out to you, and Chianti, the mother, weeps, and the crops are bare. All within these past years has been suffering. The spell plague ravaged the lands and nearly destroyed all of your people. There are scattered few of your faith that are near. There are plenty who worship Sylvaneth, but none that have undertaken the journey to spread the faith the way that you have. Nature, however, always returns, and the cycle will be renewed. You have hope in your heart. But as you stand there, ready to take that final step away from the natural world and toward this blight of stone and dead lumber, you know that you will not be able to turn back. You are to find the seed and bring life back to the desolate fields of Terrell. The holy artifacts have been stolen. You know they lie within the city. You can use them to complete your quest. The visions were clear. And in this moment, June, you gather your strength.
I look around me and take in the last bit of untampered earth that I can. And I hold my head high and I make my way towards the city.
Every step, you feel it slipping away. The warm embrace of your world is letting go. You feel cold and alone. And in the distance, the thunder crashes and the storm clouds gather, and it is much as you have seen. In the emptiness of that place, looking out onto this jagged, strange monument to human progress, you feel something. Small, distant, familiarity with something, some small magical spark somewhere in the direction that you're walking that you recognize. A kinship, perhaps, an understanding. It is small solace, but as those storm clouds gather, it is enough. And you continue to walk the green living world left behind. You spend hours on this dry patch of road, moving forward one step at a time, and you begin wondering if you're making any progress. The strange stone statues in the distance are there, and eventually, before you know it, the enormous gates of the southern ward of Waterdeep are all that you can see. They eclipse the sky. This wound in the world is now a charnel pit laid before you. There are a number of guards on a small walkway as carts and carriages move their way by. And as you stand there, you lose sight of yourself.
Hey! Out of the way! I don't want to run you over! Get out of the road!
June just hops immediately to the side.
You step to the side as an ox-drawn cart pushes past you, and an old, toothless farmer waves his fist at you and then winks.
It's all right.
The cart pulls forward through the gates and begins its inspection as it rolls forward, waved on by a number of armored guards holding spears and shields.
June's gonna look around and see if there's any, by the gates, any back ways that she can get through away from these people.
So you walk away from the main road. And down the side of the wall, it is a long, winding path. It is open, and you see figures walking along the parapets. You see open matriculations across the top of the stone walls, and through it you see spears and arrows nocked, guards everywhere along that wall. Above, flying in circles, you see griffins with riders atop them, and you hear the screech of the bird-like call of those creatures as they echo out into the sky. How far down the wall do you walk?
She'll get a good at least 20 feet down the wall.
You step out of sight of anyone from the road as it dips down a little. You don't know if anyone can see you from above. It's hard to tell. It's so far away. You think you might be alone.
She's gonna see if there's anything she can grab onto on this wall. Maybe to try to make her way up.
You start searching along the wall, and it is very finely crafted. But there are small grips of jagged stone that you could potentially use to climb. Looking up, you realize it stretches so far, hundreds of feet. If you were to fall off this wall, it wouldn't be good. But you think that you might be able to climb it, if that's what you choose.
Well, I'd rather not take that risk since I just got here, so I'm gonna keep walking.
You keep walking along the wall, away from the road. And as you go, sounds of that busy thoroughfare disappear. And in the distance, you hear the clang of armor and the marching of bootsteps. What would you like to do?
I perceive this in front of me.
Yeah, it's in front of you. And it sounds like maybe 10 armored individuals.
June is gonna take a little bit of that chance, and she's gonna try to climb up the wall just a couple feet.
Okay, go ahead and make a roll for me. We will call this either acrobatics or athletics. I'm going to give you the choice. So you can choose the skill that seems most appropriate for Juniper. 13 is fairly mediocre. You do make it a few feet up the wall, and you are hanging there, but it is slow going, and it is awkward. And once you get about 15 feet up, you realize that anyone's going to be able to see you from a mile away if you go much further.
She is going to try her luck at hanging out for just a second. She wants to see if whoever those people are going to pass by. So she's just going to hang in there.
Okay. I guess make a stealth roll to see how well you can remain concealed hanging on a wall in the morning light.
A 13.
Yeah. So that's not going to make it. Those footprints, the heavy clatter of the armor comes into sight, and you see 10 armored watch for the city of Waterdeep. You hear a cry. Halt! You! On the wall! Descend now!
Shit. June is going to slowly climb down the wall. But when she gets about 5 feet, she stops and she casts Wind Wall.
Are you casting Wind Wall on the guard?
Yeah, she's gonna cast Wind Wall in between the separation of her and the dudes.
Outstanding. So that is a dexterity saving throw for all of them.
May I say what I picture, Piper?
Yeah.
Like, I picture she just, like, raises her hands, turns around, and then just goes, whoosh, and just...
Basically, like, she comes down, she looks at them and goes, Wind Wall.
God, please, yes.
4 of them succeed, 6 of them fail.
She's gonna take off running the opposite way.
Yeah, it does cause a huge disturbance as a number of guard are scattered out about them, and 4 of them stand strongly in place. Impressively, they They hunker down and they weather the storm, but you don't know, with all of the dirt and debris that's being blown up by your wind wall, if they see you as you turn and run the other way. So you're running back to the road? Okay, so
Yes.
you run back to the road. And you hear shouts and commotion behind you. You do manage to make it back to the road before any of the pursuers catch you, but now you hear a bell being rung from someone that was hit with your wind wall, and then those bells start to clamor throughout the wall. It's as if other individuals with bells begin ringing bells, and then those bells are being multiplied by others who hear it, until eventually, as you get to the road, you hear a loud boom, boom, boom.
In this area, she's going to use it to its fullest feat of 120. She's going to cast silence.
So you immediately cast your spell, you reach into your heart, you pray to Sylvanas, and your hands reach out on the road, and everything in the area of the road and the watchtower becomes completely silent. There is no bell. But the individuals around are concerned, and the guards have begun to block off the gate as a large iron portcullis drops, and the southern gate is closed. Carts and horseback riders are all being lined up and systematically searched by the guards. You are now in kind of a throng of people.
June's going to look around for...
Momo, do you have a question?
You said that there was a toothy cart. What I'm saying is that the cart I'm on that just passed through?
Maybe. You aren't there, though. The cart passed through the gate, and it made its way into the city.
I can't, look out the back at the commotion and something.
I'm coming back to you, Doddle, so don't worry.
Okay.
Don't worry. June, what would you like to do?
June looks around for the sweetest person she can find, the sweetest face, and goes up to them and tries to reason with them.
Okay, you're in a silenced road right now, so how will you do this?
Well, first I want to know what this person looks like.
You look for the sweetest face possible, and you find a fairly young, innocent-looking young woman who is walking a kind of an older-looking plow horse that has baskets with a strange purple fruit with vines growing off of it, and they're large, almost like an eggplant, but they're filled up onto the sides of this horse. And she has a backpack on, and it looks like she has boots on that are well worn.
I'm gonna run up to her and gently take her hand, and I'm gonna mouth, "Help me."
Make a persuasion check.
Oh no!
And
Not persuasion. Oh.
That's a 9. The young farmer, she looks at you and looks to the guards for a moment, and then looks back to you. You can make an insight check.
Instead of that, she's gonna dispel silence and then cast Fast Friends on her.
Okay, so you dispel silence, and then again, boom, boom. Guards are yelling, "Halt! Oh, everyone, halt! We must search the area. Well, your business will be handled." And people are making a commotion up at the front because they were trying to get through the city gates, and now they can't. So you stop and you cast Fast Friends. You succeed. So what do you say now? She looks at you with kind of a guilty look. I'm sorry, I didn't know what was happening.
It's okay. There's some bad things happening, and I'm a woman of faith, and I really need to get into the city. And I was wondering if you would please say that I'm with you.
Yes, of course. We're dear friends. Why would I not?
Just in case. Thank you.
You are welcome, friend. I've forgotten your name. It's the strangest thing. I feel like I've known you my whole life.
That we have Juniper, remember?
Oh, yes, Juniper. Ah, yes.
Maybe we should go arm in arm?
Yes, of course. You both walk arm in arm as the guards start moving through. You, step forward, pointing to the woman on your arm. Yes, sir. What is your business here in the city? Every year we come and we sell. My dearest friend, Juniper, and I are here to sell these fruits. It's not anything. What is happening? No concern of yours. Watch business. What is your name? To you, June.
Juniper, dear sir.
All right, moving along. Kind of motions you forward, and you kind of move through the queue. As the guards kind of work their way around, other guards appear and start talking with the others. They're pointing dramatically. You are safe for now in front of the closed gate, June. Do you wish to stay here?
So the one that let me through was no longer looking at me, correct?
Yeah, and he had never seen you before. Now, the other guards that you had hit with a wind wall seem to be here now and working amongst the crowd with the other guards. And there's been a lot of whispers. The bells are still ringing.
Friend, I need a favor.
Anything.
You and I have been here lots of times.
It's strange. I don't remember it, but I know it's true because you've told me.
Of course. Is there another way that we've entered the city before?
Well, we've usually come by the high road, so the southern gate is typically how we enter, but there are many gates to Waterdeep. It's a very large city. We could always travel around to the dock ward. It's a small road. We'd have to turn back.
Why don't we do that,
Okay. And she turns her draft horse, and the three of you move back down the road. And the ringing of bells clamors throughout the city.
Okay.
We'll come back to you, June. You've lost track of how long you've been docked here. It isn't something that you wanted. You'd rather be at sea, earning your pay. You're a sailor, and it doesn't do well to sit in this city, no matter how magnificent it might be. The work that you've had to find is less than optimal. And ever since the Siren's Call was held up in the dock ward of Waterdeep, you've been high and dry. None of the other merchant vessels are really looking for any one of your specific skills, and quite frankly, you don't know that you would be able to get onto one of those crews, not without proving yourself time and time again. It's a slow process, one that takes months to build up. And while you're willing to put the work in, it's distasteful to say the least. Nightly, you sit in your small, shabby room, counting the coins that are quickly disappearing. You're haunted by the memories of the Moonshay Isle. Everything that happened on the deck of that ship, the strange priest who went mad, the captain who ended his own life. There's been a lot of scuttle around the docks. Those of your former crewmates that didn't immediately jump to a different crew, they've been in touch. Sailors that you've been talking to for some time now, and you know that some people in Waterdeep are willing to offer you coin for your services. It's just not the sea. But it was good enough for them to get you linked in with a few of these individuals, and you have a small room and a steady income. It's the morning, and you've pulled your boots on. You're looking at yourself in the mirror, pleased with what you see. Describe yourself, please, Illyri.
So I look into the mirror and give my eyes a good look, just making sure that I don't have any smudges or anything from whatever happened last night. And I see these hazel eyes, which often, when they're excited, they gleam gold. I rustle my hand through my pink hair, which is shiny, and I have a little bit of a sweat on me. It's a little humid by the docks. Tan skin, athletic build, but a little short. Elven ears. really just a loose shirt on because it's the morning, and maybe I check out my teeth a little bit to make sure there's nothing in there and get out.
There's the crack of thunder in the far distance, and out of your window, you see that the sky is bright, but there are clouds on the horizon, and the city of Waterdeep sprawls out before you. You are currently in the dock ward, and from your window, you hear the shouts of those insipid acolytes.
Copper for the blessing of Timora.
They never stop, little beggars. The ringing of the church bell echoes through the morning, and as you regard yourself in the mirror, you gather your things and open your door to find in the inn that you've been staying at, apparently, discretion hasn't been paid for. There is a note, a scroll. It's sitting at your doorstep.
Illyria just lets out like a heavy sigh, like, what is this now? And she reaches forward and with a little pep in her step, sprawls it out to give it a good look.
Illyria opens up the scroll and you break a little wax seal. As you do, you unfurl a very finely written note. It is simple, only a few sentences, but this is what it says. Sailor, you have been identified as one of the individuals that traveled upon the vessel known as the Siren's Call. While this is of interest to the Watch, it is of great interest to me. I am personally investigating this matter and request the kindness of your appearance so that I may ask you a few questions. If this seems like a cordial invitation, I forgive you. My flowery speech often gets in the way. There is an address for the Southern Ward that is marked upon the bottom, and it is signed Inquisitor Sternward.
Larry just lets out another grunt, and this isn't going to be good.
There is the smell of cooked meat and boiled cabbage down below at the inn, and you make your way down. This fairly passable inn serves also as a temple for Timora, goddess of luck. And there is a small altar that is beset with bright colors, and a number of young acolytes move in and out as there is a kind of a fat, slovenly-looking man who sits at the edge of the altar, drinking heavily already. You smell old whiskey and has his boots kicked up onto a table. Blessings of Timora to you.
And Illyria, wanting to get on her way and out of whatever this new situation is, points at the guy, gives him a little wink, and blows him a kiss with 2 fingers and continues on her way.
Be still my heart. As you kind of pass through the doorway out into the street, and the noise and the bustle of the dock ward surrounds you. So I have to ask you, Illyria, do you go to the job that you have currently slated, or do you follow the instructions on the scroll? Your contact expects you somewhat mid-morning. You have a little time, but probably not enough to get to the Southern Ward and then back.
All of the calculations just start going through her head of which one's gonna get me, the better deal in the end. She heads off to her job.
So you turn down the street, shoving the piece of parchment into a pouch as you walk down into the dock ward. And there are a number of large warehouses that sprawl out before you. You very quickly, at a brisk pace, make your way through the morning light as fishmongers and merchants shout out back and forth as large crates are being hauled up and animals led onto ships. The bustle of life around you, although somewhat gray today, fills you with joy as you clamber your way through these streets and quickly make your way to the warehouse where you have been hired to load a few wagons. Your contact is a sailor that had been on the Siren's Call named Teetlebom Moosenik. Teetlebom is a gnome, fairly grouchy, and has one glass eye that is horribly painted. It is white with a dot on it, and it kind of slides around in his in the socket of his eye as he wears old leathers, and his bright green hair is turned mostly gray. He has a beard that has been braided multiple times over, and you walk into the warehouse, and he looks you up and down.
I absolutely hate how chipper you always are.
And it'd be a good look on you, though.
Larry, I just, when this job is over, I want you to know that whatever happens, I hope to never see you again.
And Teetlebomb turns and goes and starts throwing boxes onto the back of this cart.
Tittlebomb.
It's Teetlebomb?
Teetlebomb, that's right. Sorry. By chance, like, no one's come around looking for me like an inquisitor or anything.
No one gives a frack about you. No one cares. I'm sure that if they did know about you the way that I know about you, that they would wish that you were dead. Like I do.
That's what I like to hear.
Larry, get to work.
Larry just like gets back to work, just obviously now singing a new little song in her head.
Yeah, your spirit's undampered by this grouchy little gnome. You continue to move crates onto the back of this cart, and there are a number of horses that have been tethered up to it. And there are some individuals you don't recognize. They're kind of milling about in the shadows of the warehouse. One of them is very large.
I'm gonna regret this. Look over at the people I do not recognize, and oh, hi there! You gonna give us a hand? Could really use some hands with these boxes.
Everyone in the warehouse stops and looks at you. And there's a moment of this pregnant silence, and the very large man with a shaved head, he's human, but he is a mountain. You thought what might be fat, it looks like pure muscle. Andre the Giant proportions. And so he walks and lumbers over, and he stares at you with this glower and looks down at you.
No one is going to help you. Do it yourself. That's what we paid for.
That's right, and I'm gonna get right to it.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, sir. You trusted us. You've done the right thing here. My companion, elbow to your knee, is surely making a mistake. Their tongue is far too loose. We can fix that. No additional charge, sir.
I'm just saying, if someone's gonna stand around, they might as well lift a few boxes.
What was that?
Just saying, if you want it to be done right, I'm sure you have a few instructions you could give me.
Oh, I've got instruction for
Sir,
you.
I promise you we need no instructions here. Everything is just... And Teetlebomb is lifted up off the ground as this large, hulking mass of a man picks Teetlebomb up by the shirt.
I don't have to tell you. This is important. Do it right. We paid you, right?
To the gnome. Yeah, of course.
And your loudmouth little servants aren't going to get in the way of that, are they?
No, everything's just fine, sir. Isn't that right, O'Leary?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Good.
And he drops the gnome onto the ground, and Teetlebomb kind of clatters with a clump, and you can't help but take a little joy from that. As the large man turns, what the living gods is that about? Are you trying to put us on the wrong side of the grasping eye? They are not to be toyed with. Just get the cockatrices and load them on the cart.
Okay, I will load them on the cart, Tittle.
It's
Teetlebomb! And so you start loading these wooden cages onto the back of this cart, and there are a number of these wagons here, and there's a large number of strange, caged, magical creatures of varied rarity, and this is nothing new to you. In fact, when you left the Siren's Call, that Manicore was still on board. No one wanted to risk moving it. It had gone feral. It was insane and highly dangerous, and as none of you were being paid any longer, it didn't make any sense to try to free it. But here, spread out before you in these wooden crates, are what seem to be 30 to 40 cockatrices, and they cluck, these horrible reptilian chicken-like creatures that peck at the cages and squawk. And there are 3 different wagons. The doors to the front are open, and you watch as one of them rolls out. The marks on the boxes all have a red painted eye with a hand that is grabbing around it like a half fist.
Really regretting coming into work today.
But work you do, and the day moves along. And at the end of it, you gather the handful of coins that Teetlebomb pushes into your open palm, grabbing you. Any of that nonsense tomorrow, and you'll be finding another job. Do you understand?
Yeah, I got it.
You pull out back into the streets and make your way back to the inn. Standing outside is a figure in a red coat with a long red-brimmed hat with a feather, a finely manicured mustache and beard drawn into a point, and dark eyes, thin, frail form. Make a insight check, please, Illyri.
I got a 9.
You're not sure what this individual is thinking, but they have not stopped looking at you. Do you continue to walk forward?
I will, with a little bit of interest. This person is looking at me, possibly checking me out. It's the end of my work shift, clearly has a good looking outfit on, cares about their appearance, and just is checking me out up and down. So I'm going to use a little bit of like my charm and just kind of like walk my way over there and be like, hello, see something you like?
Sorry, hold on a minute.
I'm sorry, but like if someone's gonna check out Larry, she's like fine, so
you make your way. Go ahead. Let's have you make a persuasion check. Roll a persuasion and see how you do.
It's always the goal to get the DM flustered as a bard, and it went down very well.
Perfectly planned. 13. Yeah, your delivery's dead on. As a bard, you're on your game here. I do indeed see something that I like. I believe your name is Illyri Stormborn. Or Seaborn. Is it Seaborn or Stormborn? My papers are... And immediately pulls out a book and starts flipping through it. They're inaccurate. You see, the former crew of the Siren's Call has been quite elusive. And my investigations have met with quite a bit of rude refusal. You see, and the book slams shut, I don't give up. And where there might be one note, tomorrow, I promise you there will be 2. And if I reach 3 notes, and I've still not seen the individual that I've requested, well, then it is within the power of a city inquisitor to see that someone is detained on suspicion of ill doing within the city itself. Waterdeep is bustling. The code legal is clear. We must guard our most sacred civilizations against those who would see chaos spread within the streets. And you, I believe, are the key to the secret of the Siren's Call. And while your hair is quite gorgeous and your eyes are bright, I hate to inform you that you, my dear, are not my type. I am Inquisitor Sternward, and you have ignored an invitation.
Sternward, luckily you said you just needed to see me, which you have, so our business is concluded.
Perhaps you do not understand the severity of the situation before you. I control this ward. I am the eyes and ears of the law. I am restless in my vigilance, and I will not be deterred. You, Illyri, have much to answer for. And one way or another, you will answer my questions. So we can be civil and continue this parleyance at my office. We can do so within this grubby little inn, or I can come back tomorrow with an arrest warrant.
Listen, Inquisitor, you know my price. If you want answers, give me some money. Make it worth my while. I'll have to take a day off from work from this, you know.
You lowlife are all the same. The city will compensate you should the information that you provide be of value. If you waste the city's time, I can see that any number of fines are levied upon you, and that whatever employment you have found is properly taxed. I can only imagine that if you're in this part of the dock ward, you aren't fully registered with the city.
All right. So tell me what you want to know, and you pay me the right amount, I'll give you the answer.
I will pay you what the information is worth, and not a single copper more. Would you like to do this in my office or here?
You know what? I can meet you there in the morning.
So be it. My lady. And he takes his hat off and he bows before you.
I give him a little chip of the hat.
And he turns and walks down the street. Doddle. The wagon jolts to a stop, and you've heard bell ringing in the background, and the dog is licking your fingers. Everything kind of stops as the cart halts. You are still holding on to Harold, who's now awake.
Good morning, Harold. Welcome to a beautiful new day. Look at this city, and I'm gonna take a peek.
You peek out underneath the bed of burlap, and you see more people than you could possibly ever imagine, and the faces of every type of person within the entirety of this world walks past you in a single moment. You see dwarves and humans and strange draconic creatures that you know are known as the Dragonborn, and all of them are milling about together, and all of them are going about the business of the morning. But there is a stink and a dirt to this place that is powerful, and it is foreign to you.
Harold, have you ever seen so many different kinds of people in such a big yet compact place? How hard could it be to find somebody that knows where Teowin is? There's so many people. I agree. I don't know what you said, but I agree.
And so you're talking in the back, and you hear creaking as the old man, the farmer, gets off his wagon, and you hear footsteps. What would you like to do?
Where are the footsteps coming from?
The side of the cart.
Which side? My side? The other side?
The side to your right. So the back is there. Yeah, you can. What would you like to do?
Well, I mean, we're in the city. Okay, I'm gonna grab Harold and roll out the cart.
You're gonna roll out the back?
Is it moving? Is the cart moving?
No. The cart has pulled to a stop.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll out the cart.
Okay, so you roll out, and you see before you the old farmer as he turns around the wagon and sees you. Please don't take what you want.
Thank you very much for the ride. I'm gonna run.
Goblin! And you hear shouts of goblin as they ring out through the city. And as you're running, you hear others start to yell as well, and there's some commotion behind you. And you hear the dog barking sadly as it looks to you, kind of forlorn as it sees you pass away with big sad eyes. But the old man is scared and just like holding his chest and holding onto the side of the wagon as others within the city streets of the high road begin to kind of see some commotion and make some noise. You're running through the streets and you've got this chicken in your hands, and someone from the back yells, "Thief! That thing! There was a chicken thief!" And there's various cries as you're running through the street. MacLeod, you have just taken a punch to the jaw, and in the alley you see your opponent run further down the alley. In your hand is the weapon.
Oh, fuck. Give me back my fucking book! And then he's gonna fire at him.
You fire, and I would like for you to make a roll to strike, please.
With the vial that he's loaded into his weapon, this is a ray of sickness that he's firing from the gun. That's a 14.
14 is good, but it's not good enough. Your shot runs just a little bit high, and it passes over your opponent's shoulder as they turn and roll into an alley out of the way as soon as that gunfire occurs, and you see them running back towards the main street.
Fuck. Buzz, can I have a hand next time?
It begins to throw some light around across the entire area. You see the figure run, and they jolt down the alleyway, and they're breakneck fast as they start passing through these alleys that are overhung with large decorative shades that are striped and has many colors. And there's some garbage in the way, but there's also some old fabrics that have been laid out to dry. Perhaps there is some mending and some dyeing that's happening as these large blankets are out there. And the figure kind of ducks through this to try to ruin your line of sight as these whipping fabrics are kind of batting back and forth in the wind of the alley. Other individuals in the alley start opening windows and looking out into the back, and you see people kind of sticking their heads out at the sound of what seems to be a musket shot, which is fairly rare. I mean, these type of weapons do exist, but they're not commonly used. And magic is more often used, and when that starts happening in the city, people become very nervous. Okay, so as you're running through the street and following through, these alleys open up into one of the main thoroughfares. Hawk, your eyes are still adjusting to everything around you. You've been walking through the street in a daze, and I need you to make a dexterity saving throw.
Oh no.
You have
Terrible
a disadvantage,
dex,
and you have a disadvantage.
Because I have, that was a natural 20 on the first one.
I'm sorry to have taken that away from you, friend.
Yeah, it's a 16 overall.
So someone bumps into you forcibly, and you didn't see them coming, but it doesn't knock you back. You kind of like hold your ground, and your armor just kind of like takes the brunt of it as somebody barrels into you from out of an alley and then runs past you.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Get out of my way.
Oh, are you okay, sir? Do you need
No,
help?
they run past you. They don't even wait any further.
I shout that down the laneway.
Are you okay, sir?
Are you okay, sir? Do you need help or assistance?
You do shout out afterwards, but the figure is just, you see the back of them. Make a, I'll make a perception check. Okay, now make an insight check, please.
Insight.
Yeah.
Hawk screams, "Do you need help?" And then MacLeod barrels down the alleyway and fires a fucking gun at the dude.
That's a 9.
A 9?
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't do well. Yeah, everything seems on the level. And you stand there, and then a moment later, from the other side of the street, you hear someone yelling, "Chicken thief!" And there's a small figure that's running through the crowded street. Do you have your head covered, Doddle?
As I'm running, I'm gonna realize this may be harder than I first anticipated, and I'm gonna be putting out my blue scarf around my face.
Okay, so there's a masked little figure in some large baggy clothes, holding a chicken running through the street.
I'm gonna head after the chicken thief then. Excuse me, small child. Excuse me, I believe that's someone else's chicken. I'm chasing after the goblin.
I'm not gonna completely stop, but I am gonna turn around and slow my pace just a little bit and say, "Oh no, it's all just a big misunderstanding. This is in fact my chicken bought and paid for."
Oh, okay. Oh, maybe they're trying to steal your chicken then. Do I see that she's a goblin?
Yeah, let's have you make an insight check.
Otherwise, I assume this is a small child that needs assistance. That's a 5 because...
It's a small human child who needs your help.
Oh, okay, all right. Come on here, kiddo. I'll get you somewhere safe, all right?
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Oh my gosh, the chicken thief went that way, down that alley.
A small crowd of they don't look like they're city watch. They look like they're like more militia that patrol this area of the southern ward of their own kind of, it's almost a gang, but it does seem to have some legitimacy within the southern ward, and they run past you. They're holding clubs and they're shouting, "Stop the chicken thief!" as they run away from you, and they disappear off into the distance. There doesn't seem to be any further commotion coming from that direction, and you seem to have evaded your pursuers, Doddle. What do the two of you do now?
Thank you very much for your assistance.
I just get on one knee, I put my hand on her shoulder, I'm like, hey, don't worry about it. Do you need food or something? Or like somewhere to go? Are your parents nearby?
MacLeod, I need you to make a dexterity saving throw, please.
Why would you do that to me? That's so rude. 11.
Yeah, you run full on. You don't fall, but you do ram into an armored man who is kneeled down before a small child right in front of this alley.
Oh my god.
Can I see the person running away?
Yeah, off in the distance. You see the little blur of darkness in front of you, and it kind of ducks around a cart as you come out of the alley.
Fucking get out the way!
Dude, hey, you almost hurt this kid, buddy!
Mag's just gonna keep running.
Okay, so you run past. I need both Doddle and Hawk to make insight checks.
Oh, that's it.
Finally,
that's the one your boy needs.
Doddle, this man who's just rammed into you had a brass glowing instrument on him that had a weird light on it. That's all that you really notice. Hawk, this man is carrying a satchel of papers and a bundle of books, and as he runs past you, a large piece of parchment falls out at your feet, and it seems to be a map.
Oh my goodness, that gentleman just dropped his map. Wait, I should return his map, but you need to get back to your parents, but he needs his map.
As this armored man picks up this map and holds it up, Doddle, you do speak Common, so you read Common as well. Scratched in frantic writing are a couple of words that you see momentarily on this map. Among them, Teowin and Evermeet.
Can I try and grab it from Hawk?
You reach up, you can, I don't know, Hawk, the small child takes the paper away from you. Do you stop them?
Oh, hey kiddo, do you want to see it then?
I'm gonna stare at the map for a few seconds before looking at Harold and saying, Harold, this just got easy again, and I'm gonna run after MacLeod.
Listen, I'm pretty sure it isn't a treasure map, kiddo, but we should get back to its owner.
As I'm running away, can I yell back at him? That's another miscommunication. I'm not actually a child, but thank you. I do appreciate affection, and I'm gonna keep running.
You realize that this child has yellow eyes and green skin.
I think that child might have leprosy. She'll infect the entire town. I chase after her.
Saray, roll the strike.
Okay, so my spear hits on 19.
Okay.
And it's 8 damage.
Okay, so yeah, you do 8 damage. You stab into the side as Billix kind of turns off to the side. It passes through their leather armor, and you see a gash, and some blue blood kind of leaks out of the side of their armor, and they look at you. Eyes narrow. All right, fine. And is hauling off and is going to try to kick you.
I'm going to try and stop him. I can dodge, right?
You can dodge, yeah, if you want to use a key point, right? So you'd spend a key point and you can use your dodge.
Yes. So I can spend a key point and I can be ready to dodge, essentially.
Yeah.
After my attack on him.
Right. So you're fine. If you want to dodge this, you can. So he swings outward, and you leap out of the way. Make an acrobatics check, please. It's good enough. You don't have a great footing right now, and you are standing on the edge of the roof. You see a busy street out in front of you, and you see Bixby look at you and smile as they throw a dagger as a bonus action. You're AC 15?
Yes.
You take a dagger to the shoulder.
Ow. That's me saying that, not Saray. She doesn't emote.
You take 4 points of damage.
I'm going to look down at the wound, and I'm gonna look up, and I'm like close to the edge of the building.
Yep.
I'm gonna grapple and grab the tiefling by like the armor front like collar.
Okay, so you grab the tiefling. Go ahead and make an athletics check as the tiefling's going to do the same.
I got 8.
8 is not good enough.
Yeah.
So you grab on to Billix, and Billix smiles and looks at you and just puts a finger out and pokes you in the chest. And you feel your feet slip on a tile as you topple downward. I need you to make an acrobatics check to land in the street without hurting yourself too badly.
I'm gonna fucking kill him.
You still have their coin, by the way. That's a natural 1. Go ahead and roll that again to see if you get 2 natural 1s there, Saray. You don't want to do that. It's a 15. So, Saray, you topple downwards, and you realize that Billix hit you right in the solar plexus, and it toppled you backwards. You've lost any kind of sense of inertia as far as being able to catch yourself and swing yourself back up. You've got all of your items, but you are falling. And you land in a garbage cart that shatters underneath your weight. The wheels break off of it, and you and a lot of rotten fruit burst out of the back and roll out onto the street of Waterdeep. You are in the middle of the high road, and in front of you is a very confused-looking armored gentleman with very white hair just standing before you, and you see a small child running away. Hawk, you are staring at Saray.
I feel like Biff from Back to the Future when he keeps falling in the shit cart. I'm really mad at that tiefling, and he's gonna die.
Hi. Bye. And then I just take off after Donald.
I just look up.
Yeah, you see the tiefling. They're up there, and they're smiling, and they wink, and then they start leaping across buildings, running further into the city. You can see them kind of on the top of the roofs.
I'm gonna get up, and I'm gonna try and catch up to them.
Okay, so you're running through the streets. It just
booking it, and I'm like jump, like I'm like running through the streets and like doing like the Assassin's Creed, like pushing people like aggressively but gently enough that it's not gonna cause a commotion because Assassin's Creed. And I'm gonna try and climb up one of the sides of the building.
That's going to require an acrobatics check, and you're in the middle of the street, so you have to go across the street to the other buildings. Billix has already worked their way around, and they're jumping from rooftop to rooftop. They're off in the distance. You've lost a little bit of time.
It was a 15 on acrobatics.
Okay, that's good. So, Hawk, you see this strange elf leaps in front of you and lands and starts jumping across carts using their spear and like doing these crazy running up wall parkour type moves as they start grabbing onto things, trying to get up the wall. They've far surpassed you, and you're still running. Up in front of you, however, Saray, you see this small child who's running with this big piece of paper, and you see that they're running down an alley. In front of them is a flustered-looking young man with who's shouting, and there's another figure as all of you seem to be converging into this alley.
Yeah, but where's the tiefling? I don't care about them.
No, I know you don't.
Okay.
What I'm saying is Billix the tiefling seems to be headed the same direction down this alley.
All right, I'm gonna follow the tiefling.
So you are chasing down the tiefling. The others are running down there. As you all start running, everybody ends up into this alley together, and we will come back to you. Calder, you've walked across the city, and there is a tavern in front of you, and the sour taste of old whiskey is still on your throat, but it's probably noon somewhere in Faerun. And you make your way to the Mangy Dog. This tavern has a number of people who are already passed out in front of it, and one of the doors is broken on the hinge.
Well, I guess he's gonna walk inside then.
Okay, you step inside the tavern, and as you are assailed by the smells of like boiled fish and what can only be very old, cheap rum. There's a waft of pipe smoke that kind of fills the air. There's a central hearth that is burning brightly with a couple of bubbling stews on it, and the bar is built around it. And while this place is really falling apart, there is a fairly well-to-do looking corner that has been passingly cleaned, and there is some individuals that are milling about it. All you're seeing are backs right now, but there seems to be a little bit of a commotion. I'll have you roll a perception check here. You do see there's a man lying on the floor, and there's a number of other individuals who are standing over him. Some of them are laughing. One of them seems to be a bartender, and the bartender turns. You looking for food or fare? Is there something I can do for you?
I'm sure there is. What's going on here, though? You seem to be a bit preoccupied.
Don't worry about. Yeah, no, nothing. There's nothing going on over there. And the bartender just kind of like stands in front of you so that you can't see, wiping his hands on his apron, and you see there's blood on it.
Oh.
It's a safe place. If you're looking for foods, we have many food stuff, fine fare here. We could serve you. You'll be all right.
Yeah. Cal just squints like, yeah. I spill wine all the time, like looking at the blood.
It's a safe place.
Understood.
It's a safe place. Yeah.
I'm actually looking for possibly a little bit of work just for a day or two while I'm passing through. I'm a sailor, you see.
I heard dishwasher.
Yeah. You speak the language.
All right, yeah. You get a rag and you can start working back in the kitchen. I'm only maybe a silver a day would be what we here if you find
more than I started with.
All right, yeah, good. Rush is gonna happen in about an hour. We got a few fancy folk that come in, tip okay. If you do well, maybe they'll serve you well.
Thanks for the tip.
And you see that person that's lying on the ground is fully dead. And there's a rapier that is sticking out of their chest, and they're now dragging the body out the back and throwing it away.
You just go, No, okay. Just makes a mental note.
Just get the dishes.
Will do. Let me know if you need anything. Soap, bleach.
What? You walk in there. There is no soap. There is lukewarm water that's kind of brown, and there are dirty dishes piled almost to the ceiling.
All right, I guess we're soaking these. And Cal just starts doing the dishes. He's planning to wait for the rush with like the fancy people, I suppose, and see if he can hear anything about what has just gone down.
Amazing. So Cal, you hang up your coat, you roll up your sleeves, and you start washing dishes. And you work diligently for a few hours. Yeah,
rinsing.
Wash, whatever. June. The road has been stretching on for over an hour. Apparently these gates are not as close as they would seem, and you are traveling all the way around this long, ponderous wall. How long does your spell last? You have charmed this young farmer into believing that you are her friend, and as you travel on, she just smiles happily and doesn't ask any questions. You and the the horse that's laden with those baskets of fruit travel around the wall, and everything seems to be fine. Off in the distance, those storm clouds are still gathering, and you hear the strike of thunder from time to time, but everything seems normal. Then you just kind of feel the wash of Sylvanas, the flush leave you, as you sometimes have a sense that something bad is about to happen. And her smile drops and she looks at you. I don't want any trouble. And she like backs off the road and leaves the horse. Let's go to the horse's reins, and the horse and kind of moves off to the side. There are some jagged trees and some really thin foliage. It's not much. This whole area has been deforested to build anything and everything for the city itself. So mostly it's just open, desolate fields. There are some grain fields off in the distance, but for the most part, it's just open air.
You do see a couple of these small little groups and groves of trees that are jagged and dead. And she looks at you, and then she looks back and she tries to find a place to run. And you can see by her face that she's trying to escape you.
Wait. I'm not gonna do anything. June backs away herself. I'm not gonna do anything. I would never hurt you. And she takes a couple copper and she places it on the ground and backs away some more. I'm so sorry. I'm not gonna take anything from you.
You made me think that we were friends. My mind.
I'm very sorry, but how do I make this quick? I'm a holy woman, and I'm looking for things that were taken from me and my people, and I'm very sorry. It's a religious thing. I was trying to get in, but then these people following me and.
Well, she got a natural 20 on her insight, and she realizes that what you're saying is true. And there is a crack in her fear, but she does not clearly trust you still.
Right. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Fine. I worship. I follow the gods. I do what I need to. I give what I can to the churches, but leave me out of it. They took my parents, and I have to sell this crop. If I don't, they're going to take the farm, and you've just cost me half a day. I have to go back. Don't follow me.
Okay.
If you worship the gods like you said, maybe you should think before you make people believe things that aren't true.
Well, I mean, I believe everyone's a friend until they're not.
She just kind of shakes her head and takes her horse and then starts walking back, and you're alone again.
Damn it. Okay. And she starts to continue her walk alone.
You're walking past one of these groups of trees. Something moves.
June thorn whips.
It's a 5. A figure immediately leaps from that broken group of trees, and a dark, shadowy blur lands over your head and behind you.
I wouldn't move. You're looking for a friend. Tell me, do you follow Sylvanas?
I do.
Are you seeking to enter the city?
I am.
Those who serve the Oaken Lord are friend. I will help you if you do not try to whip me again.
And a black furred tabaxi with yellow eyes and old ratted fur, dressed in a hood with worn leather armor, circles around and looks at you, crouched low.
What is your name?
What is yours?
Those who speak the common tongue call me Old Scratch.
June.
This place is death. There is no life here. I hate it.
I need to get in. How can I do that?
Follow me.
And the tabaxi turns and kind of like slinks quickly into the little grove of old dead trees and waits for you. Do you trust this figure as it steps into what's clearly a dead patch of trees?
Can I do a perception check?
You can do an insight or perception, whichever you like. I can do a perception for you. As far as perception goes, you don't notice anything out of the ordinary. Like, there doesn't seem to be a trap there that you can see, if that's what you're looking for.
She readies her thorn whip and follows in.
The tabaxi is in the trees now and kind of looks down.
We have to wait until nightfall. I know a place in the wall. I've already found it. We can get through and they won't know. Rest.
You say we're friends, but what else do you want from me?
You serve Sylvanas. What would I want from you?
For me to carry out my mission.
That will do. Get some rest.
She nods at him. But she goes to meditate instead.
Okay, so you meditate, and you're in this grove. Illyri, your day passes, and in the morning, you wake up, much as you always do. You look at the mirror, and the shine of the glimmer in your eye seems to have worn just a little. Where do you go?
She splashes a little bit of water on her face, just to kind of wake up, and takes in a deep breath, and for a moment just reflects on everything that she can piece together that she hasn't tried to drink away over the past few weeks, and realizes that she's really going to have this conversation. And it's one of those situations where she knows that she's gonna be pressed really hard, so she kind of like gives herself a little pep talk in the mirror, looks herself in the eyes, and says to herself out loud, "You got this. You got this." And just kind of like, plays a little round a little bit, but then
make a persuasion check against yourself.
yes.
No.
Oh no.
Nope. All right, and then so she's faced with that, not looking very convincing, clearly.
As you stare into the mirror, your memories begin flowing past you, and you are haunted once again by the Moonshae Isle and everything that happened there. Those dark lands, and the haunted look that the captain had. Locking himself into his cabin, you only saw him twice. He hadn't eaten in days. The food was rotting, piled up by the door. You'd forced your way in. You had to break the lock. The rest of the crew was about to mutiny, and Smiter Grable was there, but Smiter was a hollow shell of the man that you knew. Snail, the first mate, had already gathered the others, and the priest, mad, had leapt overboard into the dark waters. As the sea and the storms rocked you back and forth, and the growls of that damnable manticore filled the air day in and day night, the howling would not stop, and it drives you crazy to this day. You pushed your way in, you broke the lock. Rotten food, flies, the stench of his sweat and feces. As the captain of the Siren Call is tethered, wrapped in fascination over a book. Black-bound book that is open, the pages old and withered before him. As you enter, he doesn't seem to notice, even with the breaking of the door, but as you step closer, you hear him.
That which was will be again, as the breaking of the world has been read. All will come to pass, and the prophecy of the Netherese will be once again torn asunder. The sisters dance, and in our minds the truth will be shown. I see everything, all of it. The breaking of the world is open to us now. All that stands in the way. Turn the key.
And the crazed man looks up at you with wild eyes, Illyri. And that's where we're going to end it for today.
Woo!
Oh!
Yes.
Holy crap.
I need a breather.
Big
Yes.
fan of the apocalypse boy at the end.
Yeah.
That was like that I could feel it. That was like the scenes from the darker animated movies that scared me when I was a child. Like that's what that felt like. Oh.
Can we like give like Knox like round of applause?
That was brilliant, Knox.
Yeah, actually very.
That was
very
on.
Thank you so
Very
much.
good.
Well,
That was so good.
Tying
We-
all things together, love
Yeah.
that for me.
We had a lot of setup in this one, but I the next session is going to go a little faster because we do have actionable items to move on now. I'm really excited. It's going to take probably 3 sessions to totally get us to where we want to be. So just heads up for that. We're going to do this for another 2 weeks, but I'll have more information for us as we move along. If there's something that you feel like is really important that we might be missing, we can always find a way to insert that. I'm going to kill this recording here.
We did it.
Oh my
We
goodness.
did it. That was gorgeous.
Holy crap.
My heart.
Also, for both the newer players and the audience, since I'm still recording, this was not a recreation. MacLeod didn't get punched in the face before, so new things are happening, and I'm on edge.
Yeah.
It's nice little
Weird.
details.
Yeah.
Now, before it was like an overview. Now it's like we're gonna add some little details in because we
Getting
know
into
the
it.
overview.
Yeah.
Second pass is neat.
Details.
It has the like spirit and content of the original sessions, but it's a Final Fantasy VII remake.
Remake. It's
situation.
literally the Final Fantasy VII remake of the
Yeah.
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 Well, Hawk's intro is completely different than his original, and I love it. Like
Yeah.
the stuff with the Dwergar and the
Oh, that
broken
was so good.
That was very good.
symbol.
I like that a
Oh
lot.
my god.
I wanted you
I was
all
psyched.
entering at the same time from different places. So like
Yeah.
my like Easter egg at this point now is that you all kind of got in this orbit unbeknownst to each other even before the newer players were able to join.